Hey,
Hello, how are you?
I am good. I was wondering how you felt about everybody going around being super racist now towards anybody who's in like any Asian culture or whatever with the whole virus going around. Like, is anybody getting on you or anything?
Not on me, but it's mostly because I don't interact with that many people when I don't have to.
Yeah.
So I haven't been around that many people, and the people that I put myself around are generally level-headed, intelligent, critical thinking people. So I haven't personally had that problem, but I have heard stories though.
Yeah. It's like a lot of people at my school, because I have a few Asians at my school, a lot of people are messing with them.
Let's talk about this for a second because it is something to talk about. So you asked me how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it, but that's okay. So the way that I think about things, that's just not how I think about things. When I see a situation, I always think about three things. I think about what are the facts, what is actually happening, and then I think about, can I do anything about the situation? If there's a problem, what can I personally do to solve this problem? And then I think, what can I learn from this situation? Do I think it's ridiculous that people are being racist towards Asian people because they think like this virus is an Asian virus? Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I do think so. But that being the case, if I just keep it at that, it's kind of fun to think about that, I guess, that how ridiculous it is if you spin it in a funny way. But it doesn't really help me do anything. It's like, okay, well, it's ridiculous. Now I feel this way. Now what? To me, it's only relevant. What is actually happening? So not just like, okay, the fact that it's not Asian virus, clearly, not just that, but what are people saying about who, in what context? And then I ask myself, is there anything that I can personally do about it? Maybe if I see someone doing that, then I'm gonna call them out. Okay, so let me commit to doing that. And then I think, what can I learn about this? And this is really interesting. And these are the types of questions that I think about that I think can really help us as activists. So if you think about, and this is just one way of thinking about it, but let's just think about our cause of animal rights, to bring it back to be relevant to what we're talking about here. When you see people at your school saying things like that, what can you learn that's going to help you become a better activist for animals? What do you think?
I feel basically knowing that it's like you know something is wrong and you know you shouldn't support it, basically, so you do your best to kind of stop or help doing like whatever's happening, basically.
That's a great lesson. It's not because a lot of people are doing something that it necessarily means that it's right or ethical, and if it's not, then no matter what the circumstances, we should stand up for that. So that's a great lesson to get out of that. What is another lesson that you could get out of this?
I'd say treat people how you want to be treated, definitely. Imagine if I was sick and people just decided to start treating me like I'm some type of outcast or a problem and not a person.
That's a great one. So that's two lessons. Let's go with three. Why don't you come up with a third thing you can learn from it, and then I'll come up with three other things that we can learn from it. What's the third thing? What's the third lesson that you can get out of the situation?
Probably being on the right side of history, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Maybe another way that we can phrase that is, treating facts like what they are. So treating facts as facts. So being on the right side of history, meaning we do what the facts tell us is the right thing to do, and then we don't do more than that. Like once we're like, these are the facts, okay, like that's it. Is that okay? Those are three great lessons. So let me try to come up with three different things that we can learn from this situation. And I hope that people are getting value out of this. And the reason I'm doing this, by the way, is I just want to kind of show, not just you, Jade, but everyone on the live stream here. I'm trying to show you how I think about a lot of situations and a lot of things that happen. I just try to pull out different lessons so that I can then go ahead and use those lessons in my life and in my activism. So let's think here. The fact that people think this is an Asian virus, that makes me think that people like to oversimplify things a lot.
Yeah.
Now, where this comes from, I'm not sure, but I have a few theories. So maybe they got it from some sort of internet meme. Could be. Maybe they read something online, or they heard someone say something. What does that show me? That shows me that people are not rigorous about where they're getting their information. People think they know things just because they've heard it somewhere, just because they read an article about it in a publication that they don't know, just because they saw it on a meme, just because someone they trust maybe posted it on their Instagram story, they take that and they run with it as a fact. So it shows me that. So how can I use that now in my activism? I can use it in a sense that when people say something like, well, I don't think that you can survive without eating meat because you need to get protein. And I think to myself, I remember that situation where people were going around calling this virus the Asian virus. Well, so people thought that for no particular reason. So let me test this out here. Where do you have the information from? How do you know that you can't live off just plants? Because most likely it's not something that they know rigorously. So that's one lesson that I can learn, and that's how I would use that lesson. What's another lesson that I can learn? People are very selfish in the sense that they don't think about how their actions affect the world outside of them.
Yeah, definitely.
When, this could just be a little joke. To me, you tell me, oh, you got the Asian virus, like I cough, you tell me, you got the Asian virus. Does it offend me? No, I don't care. I don't take this personally. I'm not gonna let that affect me. That's stupid. I can laugh about that if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But that being the case, when people say that, they're not thinking about how that could make someone feel. What if someone is really dealing with that? What if they have low self-esteem and part of their family is sick and they're Asian and people are going around saying, is the Asian virus is their fault? And then you think to yourself, is this my fault? And you have all these messed up thoughts coming into your head, telling yourself, I'm not worthy, I suck, the whole world hates me. And that can be very serious, and that can very negatively affect some people. So I think to myself, okay, all these people who are talking about the Asian virus, they're not thinking about how they're affecting the people beyond them.
Yeah.
So that's a second lesson. What's a third lesson that I could get out of this? Maybe I can link this to a concept that I've talked about quite a bit, the concept of social proof.
Yeah.
So social proof, for anyone who doesn't know, is this idea that the way a huge way of how people make decisions is they look at what the people around them are doing, and if the people around them are acting in a certain way, they also act in a similar way. So, for example, let's go back to the second thing real quick where I said people don't think about how they affect others. Well, how do I use this in activism? It's really simple. I understand that when people go around and eat meat and consume animal products, they're not thinking about how those actions may affect someone outside themselves. They're not thinking about how it affects the animals that are being abused and slaughtered for that product. They're not thinking about potentially the people who had to work, the humans who had to work in slaughterhouses, who are killing animals for a living. They're not thinking about that. They're not thinking about the environmental destruction that they're causing by consuming animal products. And then I link those two. Okay, I see a pattern where humans, we tend to not think about how our actions affect others if it brings us some sort of pleasure. Okay, that's interesting. I'm gonna try to use that. I'm gonna try to talk about that to bring attention to it, right? So another thing. Okay, third thing, let's talk about social proof. If there are a lot of people doing that, how did that start? I don't know, but I could speculate that, for example, maybe one person started saying that, they told their friend, two people started saying that, and then more people started saying it. And then you see that there are people, and I can guarantee that probably in your high school, you're not the only person who thinks that what they're doing is wrong. I'm guessing, I don't know. But I'm guessing that there are people who, they see that happening and they don't do anything about it. They're too scared.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, okay, people like to follow the pack. It's a risk to do something that is not in alignment with what everyone else is doing. And then I remember something else that I learned from evolutionary psychology. It's my understanding that the way that we're wired, like our brain chemistry, like the way that we process the world is still very similar to when we were hunter-gatherers. And one thing that we developed, from my understanding, is that we learned how to work in groups. And we learned that if we did something that outed us from the group, that was a big risk. Because back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers, if you do something that goes against, say, the alpha male of the tribe, or against the leadership of the tribe, and you do something that you stand out, you're at risk of someone coming behind you and bashing you in the head with a rock. That's a real risk that you take. That being said, we feel a lot of social pressure to actually, to not fall in line with everyone else. And even if our behavior is causing harm to others, we're gonna go along with it because that social pressure is really, really powerful. So again, how do I use that? I use that, one, to empathize with people that I'm talking to. So I understand, okay, part of the reason that they might not want to become vegan, stop consuming animal products, is because they feel this pressure. They feel like they're outing themselves. They feel like they're going to become an outsider, and that's not something they want to personally deal with, right? Maybe there's some other people, they do think it's wrong what we're doing to animals. There are plenty of people like that, but they don't dare to actually do anything about it because they don't see anyone else around them doing it, and they see most people just going along with the flow. So they're not thinking for themselves. They're just kind of like in autopilot, right? So those are just 3 things. I could probably go on, but this is how I look at things. So I never think about how do I feel about this situation, because I don't feel like that's helpful. And instead I think about what can I learn, and look at all these amazing lessons that we pulled out of this. Now we have this situation that's not a good situation, and we've learned things from it. They're going to help us not only in this situation, because being aware of this is, if you are in a situation where you do want to call someone out, you're probably empowered to do so because you're more aware of what's happening. And then in other situations, we might also want to do that, like in the way that we speak up for animals, we can also use the knowledge that we've gained through doing this little exercise.
The second issue you're talking about, with the people not really realizing what they're doing is affecting other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think yesterday, my dad and I, we went to the store because we wanted to pick up some rice and beans, because there's like 8 of us in the house because I have a lot of siblings, but we're not overbuying things because we know that there are people who need the food.
Yeah.
So we went to go like get rice and beans, and the guy had just finished, we went to Walmart, and the guy had just finished stocking up food. And as soon as we went there, everything was gone. And I'm like, nobody's thinking about the kids who have to eat. Nobody's thinking about the older people who have like health issues. Like, nobody's thinking about that.
Yep.
And it's just so crazy how everybody's only thinking about themselves. All the toilet paper's gone, all the water's gone. Like, obviously, I don't drink from the plastic water bottles, and I make sure my family doesn't either. Like, we all have reusable bottles. But I'm like, if we were to go look for a filter, you can't even find a water filter because everybody's taking everything, because everybody's like in a panic, and it's just so crazy. Everything is just gone and nobody's thinking about anything else. I remember when they told us, because we actually had to like be let out of school and we're doing school online right now. And I was thinking of the kids who don't have any internet access, or the kids who can only eat lunch at school. Like, they don't have food at home, they have no way of getting food at home. I'm like, everybody's just thinking about themselves. My dad, for his job, because he's a truck driver, they give him like toilet paper and stuff like that for free. And I made sure that he went to like both of our next door neighbors and like gave them whatever, because obviously there's a lot of us in the house, but we don't need to overstock. So I made sure, I was like, you gotta give some to the neighbors, walk around, see if there's anybody that needs anything, because we don't need that much. And we gotta think about other people, because it's in times like these when you can really see what type of people you surround yourself with.
Yep, and that's a beautiful way to look at it, because one side is you recognize it in other people, then you say, do I want to act like that? I don't want to act like that. I want to think about the people around me. And so then in situations like that, you use that knowledge. So I love that. That's beautiful.